All right, welcome to I want to welcome everybody here to the work session for May 10th, 2021. It is now 6:30, and we're going to go ahead and get started with the committee/department reports, starting with planning and development. Chairwoman Lisa Newberry. Oh, and by the way, can I just say something real quick before I forget? Linda Dodd, our council lady, had an accident this afternoon, and she is unable to be with us today. Okay, so keep her and the family ready. And
topics, so let Tim present the cases.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. The first item we have on the agenda is case R21-001. The applicant is Storage Cap Loganville LP, and they'll be represented by Anderson Tate and Carr. The property owner is Walton Ranch LLC. The map and parcel number is LG040001H00. The present zoning is CH. The requested zoning is light industrial. It's for
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Melody Glauton with Anderson Tate & Carr. It is my privilege to be here this evening on behalf of the applicant. As Mr. Prater indicated, we are the applicant. We are requesting a rezoning from CH to light industrial for the purpose of developing a storage facility. The property is located at 4325 Atlanta Highway in Loganville. It is currently 4.35 acres. And again, the property is currently zoned commercial highway, and we are requesting to be rezoned to light industrial district for the purpose of developing a 2-story enclosed climate controlled storage facility. I do have what is a PowerPoint presentation that I would like to give you the presentation this evening. I was not able to get the presentation delivered in a timely fashion to have it here electronically. So if that's okay, I'd like to give you the paper copy this evening.
Sure.
okay.
So again, if I can, just to sort of walk you through who we are as the applicant. The applicant, again, is listed as Storage Cap Loganville. We are doing business as Store Space. And if you'll look through onto what would be page 3 of the presentation, what we would like to do is just give you an idea of who we are as the applicant. If you look at some of the before and after pictures, just to show you as to some of the representative projects that they have done in the past. They have experience from taking previous projects and redeveloping them into existing spaces, so you can sort of see what their history is in terms of development. And then if you look forward, you can also see that they can take raw property. Obviously, that's what we're looking here at this particular piece of property. And then again, developing it into an existing storage facility. We do have examples here so that you can see the different types of facilities that can be developed in terms of the aesthetics, if it's a more contemporary type modern facility. And one thing I would like to emphasize is that we are obviously requesting a specific use But if the city has specifics in terms of how they would like the building to be designed in terms of architecture or the types of materials, then those are things that we would certainly like to work with the city on. But this is just a representative of the types of buildings that they have developed in the past. And you can tell that this is a very successful company and that they are very much interested in working with the city, that they develop high-end and very high-end and quality projects. So if you keep looking a couple of pages in, you will see the actual site here. And I'm sure that many of you are familiar with where this project is located in the public shopping center. The surrounding area is obviously commercially zoned. And I know that you're familiar with those uses. There are restaurant uses and retail uses in the area. And there is nothing about this project that would include outdoor storage. I think that's also a very important component to note about this proposed development. There would not be any outdoor storage on this proposed facility. So some things to note about the existing property is that this property was developed 25 years ago when the Loganville Town Center was built and developed into a shopping center. And it has sat for 25 years undeveloped as a CH zoning classification. I think that's important to note because the city has an opportunity here to have a very successful business come in and develop this property, which would be an economic driver and have some tax revenues generated on this property. And that should, be an advantage to the city as well. And to have a successful business come in and redevelop this site as well. But it has sat vacant for 25 years. It is primarily a rectangular tract that does front the the Publix Drive. And so one of the reasons I think it would be especially difficult to to develop this property as a commercial site is that it does not have visibility from the roadway. And so it would be hard for someone to come in and have that visibility that's needed to have a business be successfully operated and run that you need for that advertising from the road. And so when you have limited visibility for a commercial use, it reduces the types of businesses that are heavily dependent on that advertising. So again, I know that you're familiar with the site. I just wanted to give you that history. When you talk about the comprehensive plan and the city's comprehensive plan, the city does obviously identify this tract as undeveloped and vacant. What's important to note, obviously, is that it is zoned CH. It is a commercial zoned property. But because of the way the zoning ordinance is written, we are required to request that this property be rezoned to LI. We do not have another option to travel under. And so while ordinarily in some other jurisdictions, you may see that a storage facility is a permitted use in a CH zoning classification that you could possibly have with an SUP, a special use permit. Here, we are required to be rezoned to LI. And so a storage facility is not necessarily an industrial use. It is more a commercial use. And that is why we believe that this is absolutely compatible with this particular area. And we would be willing to agree to exclude any other industrial type use so that there is no fear that this property is going to be used for anything other than a storage facility. So because of the way the code is written, however, this property is required to be rezoned to LI for the purpose of using it as a storage facility. When you look at the City of Loganville zoning ordinance, however, you will see that there are much more intense permitted uses under the current zoning classification of CH. So for example, permitted uses by right under the current CH zoning classification include an auto body repair, a car wash, a contractor's office with outdoor storage of equipment or materials, heavy equipment rentals, including bulldozers, farm equipment and backhoes, garden supply centers, hotels, log splitting and storage lots, parking lots, machine welding and radiator or muffler repair shops. So heavy, intense commercial uses, some of which would possibly be classified as intense commercial uses or possibly even industrial uses in other jurisdictions. And so that is why we believe that this is absolutely an appropriate land use decision that for purposes of the city zoning classification and the city's own code is required to be rezoned to light industrial. And so we do not believe it is an intense use. We believe that it does fit with the other commercial uses in the area and that it would be compatible with those uses. If you continue on into the presentation, you will see that the shopping center has specific declaration restrictions. And I think what is interesting to see that the current uses within that shopping center, you will see that is heavily saturated with restaurant and retail uses. And so this would add some variety to those existing uses. Obviously, there is the public supermarket, but it has already some significant restaurant uses within that shopping center. Publix is in full agreement and is in support of this application. They are excited about this opportunity to have store space come in and develop this property. And so because of those reasons, again, we think that this is an appropriate application and an appropriate land use decision for this area. There is, again, no storage or customer parking that will be outdoors. No storage of vehicles or boats, RVs or motorhomes will be allowed on the property. This is a high-end self-storage climate-controlled facility that we believe would be a benefit to the city and the citizens of the city of Loganville. And we're excited about this opportunity. And I'm happy to address any questions that you may have about this application.
Thank you. That was a very thorough presentation. One question I have is the aerial view that shows here on the paper. Do you guys plan on using the entire outline there?
So are you talking about this picture?
No,
Aerial rendering?
the one that's outlined in blue.
I believe the more accurate representation is if you look at the site plan. Well, and that's should be this rendering right here. There should be a substantial buffer along the rear of the property that remains, because I think the detention pond is back there, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. And just curious, Tim, how many fully enclosed storage building locations like this do we have?
I don't believe there are any in the city, but I could. Okay.
We do have one. It's over behind Racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
In total, we have 5 mini warehouse facilities in the city, but we only have one that's totally enclosed.
Okay.
And they have a mix of indoor storage and outdoor units.
And I'm sorry, Tim, if you said this, remind me, what was the planning and zoning's recommendation?
Planning and zoning, their recommendation was to deny it 3-1. After the meeting, I had to go back to look at their bylaws to make sure that was a correct vote. But yes, it was 3-1 to deny it. I had one member absent and one member recused himself from the vote.
So if this was approved and you guys built it, there's no in and out on 20, everything's on Publix Drive?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I have two questions.
that's all I have.
The first one, Tim, is to you. Does CH not allow outdoor storage?
CH does allow outdoor storage.
Okay. So, Melody, my question to you is that you said that y'all would be willing to exclude any other type use in LI. Would you also be willing to state that you would not have any outdoor storage?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you. And Robin, can we enforce that?
Yes, if it's a condition on the rezoning.
Okay, thank you.
So the in and out, can you get in through 78 or no? Or it's only through 20?
I think it's only on,
It would be all the accesses
All the
to
access
the
would be-
public shopping center
Through 20.
and 78, yes.
Okay. How many units are you, this is,
so the proposed units, I did inquire about that today, and it's a total of, let me get this right, 750 units total, and those are of varying sizes. So there would be some units that are 5 by 5, some that are 10 by 30, and some that are 10 by 10. I also confirmed that you can make reservations online for a unit or through a contact center. So a lot of it is contactless in terms of the amount of cars that would have to come on site to reserve a space. And that 85% of the tenants are residential-based tenants. So it's typically someone who has overflow from their residents, and then 5 to 10% are really business-based tenants.
is it just one story, right? Just one?
Maybe two.
It's
Two
two-story.
stories, 2 stories.
Yes, sir.
Lisa, do you know what the reasoning was behind the denial from the committee?
I do not know. I wasn't at the meeting, but that's a question for Tim.
They really didn't give a specific reason of why they denied it.
Possibly the zoning from CH to LI and keeping with the map. Any other questions? Any questions from the audience? Okay, so we'll take a vote on Thursday night. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Lisa, can we allow for comment from the audience, for or against?
Yes. Do we have any comments from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. 750 units is going to bring a lot more traffic to those two entrances that I was at a meeting with last week about lights going in and out of Publix and how dangerous those two exits are. And I know it because I live off 20. This is, to me, in my opinion, this is just going to make it worse and more dangerous if they're bringing big things in like towing a boat, horse trailers, whatever. If you don't have an outside storage, I don't know if those things fit into the size units. I don't know much about units. But what I do is know is that traffic that is on 20 and 78, and that this was brought up in a meeting last week. For an hour, we listened to the dangers of those two intersections.
I understand it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did I hear this right? Everything's indoor and there
Yes,
will be
ma'am.
no outdoor storage, boats, cars.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And typically, storage facilities are very low traffic impact. You're lucky if you have 5 to 7 cars that visit the site a day. And so in terms of a commercial use and the impact on the surrounding businesses, it's a very low impact on those adjoining commercial uses. And so other uses such as restaurant or any type of business retail or grocery store are much higher in a traffic impact analysis. But a storage facility, because you're not visiting that site on a daily basis, you may be visiting that site once every 2 weeks or once a month, but it is not a consistent visit to that facility. So a storage facility, the impact in terms of a traffic analysis is significantly lower.
But to your point, we understand that is a tough intersection there, coming in off of 20.
I have
Okay.
another question, sorry. Can I ask one? The tract itself is about 200,000 square feet. How many square feet is the building gonna be?
The building is proposed to be about 47,000 square feet.
And you're gonna get 750 units and 47,000 square feet?
Yes, ma'am. I can have the engineer speak to that more. That's
No,
a
that's-
little bit
that's just a
outside my
lot. Okay.
wheelhouse.
Ms. Valley, can you tell us the procedure? Is it secured? Is it 24-hour security? And how do people get in?
It is. I believe that they have to have a code or a key fob. We'll have a gate there at the driveway. But yes, the tenants to the facility have to have security to get into their unit. Yes.
Does someone live on site?
I do not believe so. I think your code would require, what do you call that in your code? There you go. Thank you. A watchman, but that is not requested here, I believe.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay.
Thank you.
We're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item we have on the agenda is R21-00.
Okay. Would the applicant like to come up to the podium? Thank you.
If I may I approach y'all and give y'all pictures of the before and after what we've done thus far?
Thank you.
Pretty much this, these are the updated ones.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, I'd like to thank y'all for letting us present tonight. I'm Chris Alexander. I'm accompanied by Michael Cody, and we're the owners of 412 Conyers Road LLC. Both Michael and I live in Loganville. Michael's a lifelong member of Loganville. He was born here, went to school here in Loganville. And my wife and I have been here for about 6 years now. Michael approached me about a year ago about this property, about purchasing this property. It was owned by the Wilkersons, and they had, Mr. and Mrs. Wilkerson had got old. Mr. Wilkerson passed away, and so did Mrs. Wilkerson. So the sons took over, and the house needed quite a bit of work, and we talked about it. We thought it would be a great commercial property, standalone property, and that was one thing that we noticed that was missing was standalone commercial. And so we approached the Wilkersons about buying the unit and did. About 5 months ago, we put a good bit of work in it. I don't know if any of you have been by the property, but there was a lot of cleanup that needed to be done. new roof, new windows, new doors, electrical. We put a second bathroom in it's a handicap ramp. So we put a good bit of investment into the property. We really want to ask a premium rent for this unit. We've put a good bit of money into it, and we expect that, and we think that it will bring good taxes to the city. It's close to downtown Loganville. Sidewalk access, so if individuals there in the property can walk down to downtown for any kind of events. It does have an entrance and an exit on the property, and it has a decel lane out front. We do realize there's traffic on 20. I know it's been mentioned here, but with that decel lane, there's a possibility of turning into the property and coming out of it.
There's also a 35-mile-an-hour zone in front of it, so it's not a high speed, fortunately.
Right. It does have a shop out back, a good bit of, and a good bit of acreage. So we think it would be a great location for a contractor, local landscaper, medical facility, antique, consignment shops. It's about 1,400 square feet. So really the amount of individuals in the property at any given time is about 9 individuals. So we don't see a lot of traffic coming in and out. And then we also plan on putting in a hard surface driveway around the property, as well as some parking for those individuals. I'd love to open it up for questions on the property.
Any questions? Any questions? Bill? No? Any questions or comments from the audience?
I do. Is that the White House there on the right? Yeah.
Yeah, excuse me. Is that the White House they repainted?
That's correct.
It's beautiful. I like it. You guys did a wonderful job. I live right around the corner from there. And just to see it transition from what it was to what it is very positive in my viewpoint.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, any other comments from the audience? Questions?
So in your application, you had some comments from property owners nearby. Can you just kind of go through and talk about who they are and what comments you had from them?
Sure. There's 3 property owners, residential, to the back, to the right side of the property. The other properties around us are already zoned commercial CH. 2 of those properties are rental properties, and then one is they're actually
Wilkerson kinfolk, and so I was able to talk with them, and they're very comfortable with what we're doing. The only thing they asked, what used to be a driveway that the family just kind of used to get to Tommy Lee Fuller Road, we told them we'd put up, because they had a problem with like people just passing through their driveway trying to cut that turn off. And so we said we'd put a fence up where nobody dropped through their property, but we had their full blessing on what we were doing.
So was there any conditions placed by the planning commission?
No, sir.
No, there were no conditions for the rezone, and their recommendation was to approve it.
But if there was talk about a fence, maybe that ought to be a condition.
Well, nobody has came to us with any complaints about the driveway or a fence. I mean, y'all can make that a condition if you see fit to.
So are you saying you'd like to see a fence?
No, I mean,
driveway?
they said they talked with the Wilkinsons, and they asked for a fence. Is that?
Well, they didn't ask. He just said, please don't let people drive into that driveway.
Okay.
We said, no, we had planned we wanted it stopped. And so they had put up like a cone now, and it stopped the traffic coming through in and out of it. Because before it looked like a driveway, but now they've made it, cut it off. So we offer that if they so chose that we do that. And I don't have any issue doing that. If we want to put a small segment, a fence up right there where that driveway used to go through, I'm not opposed to that.
or shrubs. If you want.
Yeah, or shrub. That's the other thing I talked to them. That or shrub. Just
Okay.
something to block it.
And question for Tim, something like this, are they required to put in parking in a driveway, an asphalt driveway?
Yes, they'll be required, once it's determined what type of business is going in there, because our parking is based off business type. So once we get to that point, they would be required to put in parking.
Okay.
So what are some examples? I mean, is there two parking spaces is the minimum or
Well,
what?
it's based off of the use. So if it's an office, I think it's 2 per 200 square feet. You know, so it just depends on what the use is going to be as to what the parking requirement will be. And in that, handicap parking is required. So that answers your question.
Thank you.
Right now, our plan is to put, since we built the ramp out front, is to put a handicap space out front so it's convenient to the ramp. And then potentially put, as Tim said, whatever company moves in there, put 6 to 7, 8 spots behind the house.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all very much for any consideration.
The next item we have on the agenda is a discussion about reducing gravel lot size. I know we had a discussion before about either removing gravel from the code or reducing the amount of pervious or impervious surface based on a calculation per lot. So I don't know how y'all want to go with this.
So that's basically what we need to talk about is, do we want to eliminate it, leave it as it is, or shrink it down? So let's open up for discussion. How does everybody feel?
There's not one. As far as how much impervious or pervious surface you can have, there's not any code. Correct.
And how would that would only be for new construction?
Yes. Anything that's pre-existing, if we've issued a violation for it and they've brought it into compliance, then you cannot retroactively change the code to include them, if that's right.
So not new construction, but all properties that have not been enforced prior to when it's approved. Like there's several houses on Bay Creek Road that has already put gravel down. They would not have to adhere a new rule if y'all put one in place.
So if somebody's whole backyard right now or whole front yard is gravel, and we put a lot size in, they still get their whole front yard as gravel. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Do we have a recommendation?
We did not take this to the committee level.
Okay.
It's just up for discussion. See what everybody wants to do, what you're thinking, where your head's at.
So if this is something council wants to wish to do, then we would have to come up with something. We'll have to go through the whole process of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then it would ultimately come back to you for a final vote.
As far as the gravel, that would not have to go before the Planning Commission. That would just be a change to Section 103 of the city code.
Will we have a committee meeting on that, right? Can we have a committee meeting on that? Or no?
I'm happy to have a committee meeting.
Talk about
In the meantime, can we put a moratorium on any new gravel going in?
I don't think so.
They don't come to you for permits to put the gravel down, do they?
No, but they do receive violations from code enforcement and possibly citations to go to court.
So are you asking for a moratorium on the citations?
No, on the gravel, but I guess that's out the window now.
No, unless they're coming to apply for permits, which they're not, then you can't put a moratorium on it.
How many do you think we have gravel right now? 10, 15?
Probably more than that. Yeah.
Like 20?
Yeah, it's probably closer to 20.
How many residential versus commercial?
No, it's all residential that we've written notices to. We've made put down gravel.
Well, what about the one last month? That was gravel, wasn't it, for business, for a special use?
No, that was actually asphalt millings.
Okay.
That was a special use permit
So they would be
under commercial. Yes.
Tim, in your expert opinion, what would be a good amount of gravel per house if we could bring this to committee?
I mean, you could do it two ways. You could take gravel out of the code completely, or if you want to do a percentage, other jurisdictions usually do around 35% of the lot, and that's not counting. When you do the impervious surface, you take out the footprint of the house and their current driveway, and then they're allowed another 35% of their lot to do any additional driveway or,
Probably just take it out.
Are we trying to, I guess, I know what the purpose is going forward, but this doesn't go retroactive for anybody, except if people have cars right now parked on grass, so they don't have any gravel, this would limit how much gravel they could put down. Is that right?
correct.
I mean, 35% is okay with me, if that's the standard.
Tim, does that take away from the one accessory structure they could have?
No.
Okay.
So if it's not required by permit, and they were to go do this, you've got to have record of every resident and whether or not they have gravel at this point. Is
We
that
would have
correct?
to do that if you remove it from the code, yes.
Yeah, I think.
That's a good point.
I mean, I would support a limit of some kind. I think we're trying to get around somebody graveling their whole yard. I don't know that I would remove it either from the code. I think that would make it really hard to deal with.
And what we're saying is it would not matter for the existing
Right.
homes that have it.
Correct.
Okay,
Is this something you want to bring up in committee? Talk about it?
we can.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll take it back to committee and come back with a recommendation.
The next item we have is shorting the term of building permits. This code section is in the zoning ordinance, and it would have to go before the planning commission.
Okay, and currently it is 6 months,
Yes.
or 12 months?
It's 6 months for building permits, it's 12 months for development permits.
Does it have auto renewal?
No,
It's 12 months for what?
development
Development.
permits, and 6 months for building permits.
So the permit itself is only good for 6 months, or they have to start within 6 months?
Yes, if you do no work within 6 months, then your permit expires. If you cease work for a 6-month period, your permit expires.
How
So
many-
if you start work and then stop and don't do anything for 6 months, then your permit would expire.
Do we know how many times that has happened or is happening? I mean, is this a big problem?
I mean, it's happened a handful of times. It's not a continuous problem that we have. But if we write a notice of violation for failure to obtain a permit, if they get a permit, that permit's good for 6 months with them doing no work. And they've complied with the notice of violation, so they can't receive a citation for not starting work.
So if we drop the development down to 6 months and the building down to 3 months, do we still have flexibility on case by case to change or extend?
If y'all want to leave in the code provisions for extensions, yes.
I mean, we've all learned these last 12 months, we've had to be gracious in some points, so I can see where if a pandemic happens again, somebody has to stop building. They can't get workers out there for whatever reason.
I'm afraid this penalizes the people that are trying to build houses like the right way. I mean, this doesn't feel very business friendly to me. I mean, I know that we're trying to stop people from getting a permit and having a permit and not doing anything for a long time, but I I mean, stuff happens. I mean, what about auto renewal?
Tim, if they're continues doing work, that permit was still good for a year, if they're, as long as they're
Permit's
doing work.
good until they finish
Right.
construction.
It's only if they
CO.
stop for that 6 month period and don't do anything, but if they're working every week and then it rains for 2 weeks and then come back, then
Okay.
he would continue.
Okay.
As
Like
long
house,
as as long as there's not a 6 month lapse
Of no
in-
work.
Okay.
in construction.
And how do we determine that? Does your office have to go out and figure out and determine if it's
So
stopped?
we'll know, through our inspection process.
So is it
What's
an
been
inspection? Do you have to have inspection progress every 6 months? I mean, there's some stuff that doesn't require an
Well,
inspection, right?
on every new house, we do 18 inspections.
Okay. So it's unlikely that there would be a
Right.
6 month. Okay.
Yes.
Makes sense.
this mainly come from the, properties that are in disrepair that get a permit and then we not able to issue a violation for 6 months. It's to limit that. But, you have somebody with a hotel who pulled a permit, but due to COVID, he's not able to do anything, so he's gonna have to come back and
And how much are the permit fees?
Best Western was 27,
26.
26,000.
Could we handle it with a fine instead?
I don't understand your question.
So the way the ordinance reads, if I think I know what you're saying, is if you have a building that's in disrepair, we issue a notice.
Are you on?
It's on you.
Okay.
Red light's on.
Okay.
Is better. Please talk louder.
Janice didn't say nothing, so I'm good. So, Janice, you forgot what I was going to say now. So, they give an issue of violation. Kyle, too much. Then we cannot touch them for 6 months. And then if they don't do anything, then we give them a notice of citation that goes to court. And then once it's in the court, we cannot touch them until the judge does something. So, yes. Yes. So once we give them a notice, we have to wait for that 6 month period. If you reduce it to 3 months, then we would wait for 3 months.
If you reduce it to 2 months, we'll wait 2 months.
Any other questions? Any comments or questions from the audience?
Just a comment, just in the sense of the building that sits next to ours is in disrepair. I think is an eyesore for the city, and I think that person might be able to use what y'all are talking about to push off doing any work to it because it's in disrepair. And so I do understand exactly where this is coming from and why it's a problem that somebody could push it off by just pulling a permit.
Okay, thank you.
You referred to the Blue House, they have a citation to go to court.
Can I ask one question? Tim, you were asked if there's discretion to extend.
Yes, in the code, there is provisions to grant extensions.
Because I just briefly looked at it, are they spelled out pretty concretely as to, okay, so they have to satisfy objective standards to be able to get an extension?
Right.
Okay.
So when we say shortening the terms of the building permit, we're actually talking about shortening the length of time that progress can happen. Is that
Correct.
not the start to finish? That's where I think where I got
The
confused.
lapse.
Only the lapse portion.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
So if there's a lapse, right now it's 6 months. So we're talking about taking it down or shortening it to X months.
Right.
Okay.
Tim,
It's 6 on building and 12 on development.
could we have a different permit category for like remodels and disrepair versus new construction? That may be a simpler way to address this. Because right now we're just dealing with mainly, unsightly property that has to have some type of repair or porch that's caved in, a roof caved in or something. Is there a way we can, or we need more time to look at it?
I would need to do some research on that, but I don't see a reason why we couldn't.
Would y'all
Have
prefer
a-
that versus
have a
I think that's
the
a
umbrella?
I think it's a fantastic
It
idea.
would be a
It's two
separate
different
category
issues.
under
That's-
building permits.
Okay, you got till Thursday. How about we do it right and take it back to committee with the gravel? I'll give you some more time, gives Robin time too.
Yeah.
Chairman, is that okay with you?
Yes. Okay. All right, any other questions, comments from the audience on this? Okay. Thank you, Tim. And the last thing is just an update on Planning and Zoning Commission member resign. So we've got an opening in that, so we're in discussions on how to fill that. So more to come on that Thursday night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
All right, coming down to Finance/Economic Development, Chairwoman Ann Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a couple of things. The first thing, and it's in your packet, we are needing to reimburse the Walton County Board of Education for the Georgia Power and Lights. These are the lights that are here on the Loganville Elementary School property. And there is the detail. They run between $250 and $280 a month. So the total over the last 5 years is $14,233.78. Danny, the only question I have for you is it always going to be every 5 years that they tell us, or?
No, so this was a billing error. We were approached from Walton EMC about replacing, this is for the track lights, there's 14 of them out there. Replace them to LED. When they sent the contract, they sent it to our electrician, Dustin, which I don't know if he's here, but anyway, on top, it had Walton County Board of Education. I said, well, I can't sign this because it's them. So when we did some research, or when he did some research, it was still in their name. So they sent us all the bills since the time we bought this building till current, and that's the $14,000. So they've been paying this.
So I I got
entire
that.
time.
But it's been changed over to us now?
It has.
Okay.
And it did go up just a little bit because we got LED lights.
Right.
But it's somewhere in that
270.
range. It'll
Okay.
be 260 to 280, I believe.
It's not supposed to go up.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they go up.
Any questions?
Because they said the school got a break. It should have been more than that. That's what EMC
Any
told us.
questions from council? Any questions or comments from the audience? Would anybody object to putting this on consent?
That was good. Consent.
Okay. The next thing I have is a very exciting Pitney Bowes contract, which is a quarterly payment from the city to do the postage so that we can run stuff through the postage machine. $459.78.
Good.
Any questions? Any comments? Consent okay?
Consent's fine.
Excellent. All right, moving right along. We had a committee meeting for Finance and Economic Development a couple of weeks ago. We talked a little bit more in depth about the survey and kind of what our next steps were. And from that meeting came a request to do a town hall to catch any other people who may not have had the opportunity to be heard, just to do a town hall, which is now scheduled for May 20th at 6:30 p.m., which I guess is 2 weeks from this coming. No, it's just a week from this coming Thursday. It'll be at the Rock Gym. Shane Short will be facilitating that and handling that. The format is being worked on at this point, and we'll have that ready by early next week. The point of the town hall and kind of what I would like to talk about, and we talked about it at the committee level, was what we do with this data. There was a question about whether we should begin discussion and letting Danny talk to developers at this point, which my recommendation would be not yet, because we don't have enough of a structure and for him to know what even to negotiate. So my hope would be that once we get the information back from the town hall, that along with the survey, we create a request for proposal with what the citizens and council want, and then we go forward with that. So, any questions from council about that?
No, but I failed to mention, not to compete with the town hall, we are having a planning and zoning 101, I guess, class for the public on May 18th. 6:30 here in the council chambers. Very informal.
Okay. Any comments or questions from anybody in the audience about either the survey or the town hall?
So Ann, as far as you said you're going to bring information on how the process for that town hall meeting, you're going to bring that up at Thursday night or next week or what?
It'll probably be next week. It might be Thursday night. The idea of it will be for Shane to moderate. People who speak will have a set amount of time to make comments and about what they want to see. It is the point of the town hall is to look forward, not to look backwards. And any of council who will be attending it is not a Q&A to us. I'm going to listen. I'm not going to speak. So, and I mean, unless to say, hi, my name is Ann, and here's the rest of the council. But it is definitely not it is to solicit the last set of opinions and thought and feedback.
And then I have heard you talk about this potential RFP, and can you just kind of give me an idea what it is you're thinking about as far as an RFP? I mean, when I think of RFP, I'm thinking here I want this, and here I'm gonna make a statement, and people are going to solicit for it. So I'm just wondering, how do you
how we construct it?
Yeah.
So it's been a year and a half now, when Haddow, who is the one that did the feasibility study for us, they worked with Peachtree City to create an RFP. So they took all the input from the citizens and all of the discussions they had with everybody who had an opinion to put together an RFP for what the city wanted to go get the votes. To go get the input. What that RFP looks like, I don't know yet, because I don't think we have the full set of data. But at whatever point we've closed citizen comments, then I think as a council we have to talk about what we're willing to put in play, and before we can do the RFP, we've got to talk about that. So what properties are up for grabs? What do we want along with what the citizens said, so that they can go out and shop for someone to give us our wish list. I don't know what the bullet points on that RFP look like yet.
And that's very common. Cities do it. I know I work with the city of Birmingham. They had an old dilapidated building on a corner lot, and that's exactly what they did. But they put it out for the concept. They put the RFP out for whoever a developer is, come back to us with the ideas.
Right.
Same thing here. We went to the citizens for ideas.
Right.
So I guess you can't really write the RFP until you know what the ideas are.
Right. Well, and my hope would be that if whoever we use would take the blueprint of what we've got, of what everybody wants, and say, okay, this is the parameters that we're dealing with. Help us write this. Does that answer your question, Bill?
It helps for sure.
Okay.
I guess, we're going to go through this next step, get information, collect information at the town hall. Then we've got to discuss among a council and try to get to this the goal ahead. I keep wondering is it seems like we have watched this council for 2 years now. There's not been a retreat. There's not been a way that we've sat down and spent time to discuss issues, not just this, but in other things. Because I don't think it's not just about the development. I mean, there's other things there's so many things that are involved when you talk about infrastructure. You talk about where are we going with, where are we leading with traffic? Where are we going with budgets? Where, that type of thing. So I just would like an opportunity where we, and also a facilitator somebody that facilitates and kind of keeps things moving. I don't want to get caught up into, just working to where we're not coming into a common focus. I'd like to see us work toward that common solution.
I completely agree, and I would hope that whoever we hire to do the RFP, because it is so complex, would have somebody. And I know that, and I mean, if it's not Haddow and somebody else, I don't care. But I know that Haddow led, and maybe the people that did the Birmingham building, we could talk to them. They led Peachtree City and their government through figuring out what they wanted, figuring out what the infrastructure would cost, who would have to do what infrastructure piece, so that it looked and it was put together in a way that they got bids, and that's how it came to pass. So I love the idea of a retreat, but we can't do that, can we?
Yes, you can do that.
Okay.
You just need to advertise it. It has to be open, but yes, you can definitely do that. And Danny's right. There was a retreat.
January 12th, 2019.
Okay. And how do you move the retreat along with the people in attendance? If we have a retreat here like this, how does that facilitate with comments and feedback, et cetera?
Well, the fact that you have a public meeting does not require you to open it to comments from anyone. It just requires that you allow the public to attend and view it.
Okay.
As to how you would facilitate it and move through, it depends.
Okay.
You could have an agenda. You could have someone in charge of moving that agenda along. You could have time limits. There are all kinds of ways you could structure it.
Okay. Do we want to start talking about having a retreat?
Now, what Bill's saying is you're not want to have one just on downtown development. You're saying just everything we do as a city,
Right.
have a strategic planning.
Sure.
Here's our 1-year goal, our 5-year goal, our 10-year goal, and we walk away with some concrete things in writing.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
I mean, I think ongoing for the future that we should have at least a biannual retreat in January after the election year. You know, I think that having a retreat right now with a 2 and a 5-year goal might be really hard for all the city stuff because we may have new faces. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just had one in January of 2019, so just like you said, with the binance, I think January 2021 will be a good time.
I mean, I would love to have
New
those
council.
goals as a council.
New folks.
Yeah.
So that ship sailed, by the way.
What's that?
I said that ship sailed January 21.
Right.
No, 22, I'm sorry, 22. 22. Yeah.
Do we want to start talking about a retreat? I mean, at least I agree we want a big one for everybody, but I do think we need to have some discussion with council because in a week and 2 days, 3 days, we're going to have the final input from the citizens, and then we've got to talk about what we want to do. So we all need to be thinking about what buildings do we want to talk about changing, modifying, selling property. We got to know what's in play.
Yeah, and I don't think that the same facilitator can facilitate where we're trying to go with the CAG with what we're trying to do with the
I
city.
completely agree with you. Yep.
Two
I agree.
different animals.
I agree. Do you want me to look for some facilitators for that sort of meeting?
Yes.
Is that a Shane Short thing?
I'll talk to Shane about it. I'll see if he can. I mean, he'll be doing the town hall, so I'll ask him.
We had Randy
That's what
Meacham.
I'm saying.
Yeah, Randy Meacham might be
Randy
really good
Meacham
at that.
with Gwinnett Municipal. I mean, but
La-
anybody.
The last time I researched this, Carl Vincent
Carl
was
Vincent.
who we were looking at, but no, time we didn't do it.
That's right. All right, so you guys want to set a date like January 2022? That gives us a few months.
Say that again?
Do you want to set a date, January 22, with the new folks coming in, or?
Well, I mean, we
Or
can
when?
do that for the big retreat, but I don't want to sit for 8 months on
Okay.
the CAG side.
Oh, no, definitely.
The people that you mentioned and Randy Meacham, would that be for everybody or just a forward moving on development?
I think Randy Meacham.
Chris Vincent and all the people you
They were
mentioned.
just the facilitator, but it would be open to the public.
Of course, no,
Yes.
I understand that, but
But they would just come and host it and give you guidelines on how to keep the agenda and keep moving, not getting bogged down.
would the council object to having Danny reach out to a couple of people, Randy Meacham and Carl Vincent, to talk about facilitating a discussion for step 2? Would anybody object to that?
I would not object.
No.
Okay. Do we need to put that on consent or add an agenda item? Danny?
Robin?
We are all in agreement. Jay, do you have any issue with that? No. We're all in agreement to allow you to talk to Carl and Randy Meacham about facilitating a public council meeting discussion / retreat about development once, so maybe in June or July.
Make sure my previous marching orders.
No, I know, that's why I'm being very specific. I'm trying to discuss with the facilitator to sit down in a public meeting with the council to take our next steps once we get the data, so maybe late June, July. Is everybody okay with that?
June or July will be good.
Okay.
Is it going to be on the weekend? Is that on a Saturday morning? Is that?
5:30 a.m. Kidding. No, I mean, I would think probably during the week is probably better. I mean, I have no issue. I don't know how long that meeting would be. I think we have some steps to take before we decide when and what time.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. What else you got?
I think, I'm sorry, any questions or comments from the audience about any of that? Okay, then Mr. Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Public Safety, Chairman Jay Bolin.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to call down Chief Tim Johnson. I have a budgeted line item that I'd like to put on consent, but I want Tim to kind of go over it instead of me reading off this paper. How are you, buddy? Good.
Mr. Mayor.
So I am standing here tonight to ask for the approval to purchase some new extrication tools for the fire department. We currently have 3 stations. We have 3 sets of tools. They're mainly called Jaws of Life, but that's only one tool in the extrication set. So our oldest set was purchased late 90s, early 2000s, and they're not as strong as they used to be. And frankly, some of the newer cars that they're making nowadays, it doesn't cut as well or as fast. So I'm asking for the approval to purchase a battery operated set of tools. The annual service costs for the battery operated ones are cheaper than the hydraulic ones, and it also offers for quicker deployment. And the total price of the tool set would be $31,559.38 plus shipping on that. He said shipping should be around $250 to $300, and it is a budgeted item.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions from the council?
So what's the difference? How much is the hydraulic ones sets cost?
The hydraulic ones are roughly a couple thousand cheaper. But you have extra pump. There's extra components. There's extra service costs along with that. Hoses. Everything on the battery operated are built internally, so you don't have the extra components of the servicing. And the hydraulic sets are cheaper, but with the newer vehicles that are coming out with, they just don't cut as good as the newer sets do.
And is there, so you said you've got 3 of them. Is there, you've already identified which one you would replace?
Yes, sir. It's the oldest set that I have that was bought in the late 90s.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience have any questions or comments? Okay. Can we put this on consent? Everybody's good?
Yes, everybody's good.
Thank you, Chief Johnson.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. That's all I have for you tonight, Mayor.
All right. Thank you so much, Chairman Jay Bolin, Public Utilities / Transportation, Chairman Bill Duvall.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's see, I'm gonna flip through here. So the first thing we have is the city recommends us to approve a CDBG grant, 2022 CDBG grant. They're applying for grant funds to perform upgrades to Leeburg Road, trunk line, gravity sewer, replace the terracotta lines. So this is a resolution that we would have the mayor sign on Thursday. And this is for an application of $500,000 in funds to perform infrastructure improvements. Any questions?
None.
So, and this is, I mean, this is, we do them, we'll put a grant in, you know, we put the grant in last year. This is another grant. Any question from the audience? So, do we need to vote on this, Danny? We'll vote on it Thursday. Okay. The next thing is the staff request funds to repair one of the pumps. We have a third pump that is down. You have the 2 pumps that operate the treatment facility, and the backup pump is down. It's $9,894.14 for the repair. And any questions on that? Hearing none.
None. Consent.
Any questions from the audience? So would you place that in the consent?
Consent.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to skip to something else. So, Danny, I can bring this up now, the IGA with, for the fire modules, the IGA. No. The 911.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah, so we can talk about now. We want to add it under Robin.
Oh, I thought you were going to add it to me.
You can take it off my plate. I won't fight you for it.
No. It came.
That's why I sent y'all over.
Just let Robin explain it. Okay. So we there's technology that we were looked at a couple years ago that where the fire stations could hit a button and it would flip the light, like the fire station in Old Loganville. You could flip a button and it would, when the fire engines are called, and it would flip the lights at Brand Road in 78, so allow them to get out easier. Well, they held off on that until this technology rolled around. This basically, there's 30 traffic lights in the city. 30 vehicles in the city between the fires and police. And what they'll be able to do with these modules, so the DOT had to give us, the IGA is with the Georgia DOT to give us a module that goes into the vehicles, so that if, say, a policeman is going through town and he needs to get through quickly, it'll automatically flip the lights in the direction. So if he turns his blinker on left and as he approaches the light, it'll turn left and it'll turn for him. So it helps clear the intersections out so that they can get through quicker. So, all right, Danny, you want to pick up anything else on it?
Yeah, so it's just a IGA contract with the state of Georgia. Since they cannot give it to us, they have to give us a lease, and I believe it's a 20-year lease, but it is an agreement with the state and the city, so Robin's got it, and once she signs off on everything, I have the authority for either myself or the mayor to sign it for Thursday night. But yes, it's for all the front line vehicles, police, fire, and possibly one for the ambulance in the city. Even though it's a county, we'll have to get their permission, but it's free technology, and it will get good 3-4 years for the technology changes, and then it'll be outdated. But for 3 years, we'll be able to get through traffic much easier.
And what does it cost?
It's free.
Okay.
Yep. State's doing it, and they'll have to change the red lights. And Gwinnett County will do the Gwinnett County side of the red light, which is Brand. Any questions?
And we're going to vote on that?
You will need a vote for once Robin has the contract approved for the mayor to sign.
All righty.
So it'll be a contingent vote on Thursday night. You will recommend that the mayor have the authority to execute the contract after it's been negotiated.
Sure. All right, and then the last thing on my list, Mr. Mayor, we had a Transportation Committee meeting and to discuss a potential project for the addition of a red light, or not, I shouldn't say that, traffic improvements at 78 and the Loganville Town Center Publix. So, in 2014, there was consideration of putting a traffic signal there to improve ingress, egress to the shopping center. That was actually halted with the proposed State Route 20 project coming through town, because it at that time was proposed to be one-way pairs. So CS Floyd would have been converted, and there would have been a traffic signal at CS Floyd that would would have placed it too close to Loganville Town Center. So now that project is moved through. The concept report has been approved. The preferred alternative is not the one-way pairs anymore. And so we identified this last year in it's not been identified, but we had it for our T-Splost list as a potential project. It continues to be a project for us to look at. So anyway, we had a meeting Keck and Wood had done some investigation for us, or put together some information for us on that particular intersection. But more importantly, is our meeting, we had representatives from Georgia DOT attend, and so we were able to discuss with them the potential project. So what we're asking for, what we're looking for is, we're wanting to move forward with Keck and Wood to take traffic data, take traffic information for the 11 sites along 78, and develop a report. They have to have an ICE report for every intersection, and then they'll put together a report, and coming up with is potential solutions for the intersection there at in front of Publix. Likely it's a traffic signal. What DOT's involvement was is if they said that if this matures into a project, they would program it. It would come out of federal safety funds, which is a good thing. Federal safety funds are kind of set. They're managed. They have a yearly budget on them. From what I've seen is, you get projects ready, and then as projects are moved into that program, what they do is they calculate what's called a benefit cost ratio, and if the benefit outweighs the cost, so if it's greater than 1, then you say that it's a viable project. But not only that is what they look at, is they look at how much of a benefit it is. So then they start competing projects against each other, so that if it has a higher benefit to cost ratio, it actually may advance. And our gut feeling is they actually brought it up. The other thing is that GDOT had done a road safety audit, and they identified it as a project. So we had the Transportation Committee meeting. What we're asking is to move forward with, I don't know if I saw the number, Danny. It's like $32,000 for Keck and Wood to proceed with this phase, and then hopefully, I hate to say that, we will get a report. The report will probably be here toward the end of summer, early fall. At some point, we'll get to a point where we'll share that. Getting the report's one thing, but you've got to get it to DOT. They've got to review it. They've got comments and questions. But once they get to a point where they find it suitable, then they can program a project. And what we'll do at that point is we'll work through what the terms are. Likely what we're looking for is for DOT to fund the entire construction. But that's something we'll pick up later on in the process. So
Did you say that? Did you say that Publix was going to help us out?
No, I didn't say that. Thank you. So, and Publix is all on board. They actually, I think, kind of got came up with it recently, but they've offered to put up to $15,000 toward this study as well, to get things moving.
32,000. Publix would contribute up to 15. Originally it was 10, but the recent email is up to maybe 15, because they, and I say Publix, I meant the group that owns the shopping center, and you can see there's a rendering of this high level rendering that Keck and Wood did, because it would require Publix to make a road through their parking lot to access the red light. So you'd have Chick-fil-A and then the red light, what we're talking about. And then also it would require us to obtain the road across the street, which is Chili's. That is a private road. We have had discussions with the owner of that, and he is willing to dedicate that to us as long as it doesn't take away from his parking for the hotel property, because it's part of the hotel property as well, Mr. Patel. We have a verbal commitment from him. So kind of what we're going to do is, if you grant Thursday, we have to spend the $32,000 to do a crash data, ICE report, and then the state will tell us if it's a viable project. They'll give us a green light to move forward. If not, we stop there, but we do have to spend money in order to get these reports for state for approval. That was the meeting we had with the state, like the chairman said.
From what I got from the state, it seems like the state is on board.
It seems like they are, but like they said, they would look at the benefit ratio, because it would tell the reason the state would get involved, because they would potentially put the median in the middle of 78 because it was identified as one of the high priorities in their safety audit that was done last year by the state of Georgia. So we can get them on board, saves us a lot of money. And this was a project that we talked about during the 2019 Walton County SPLOST. That was earmarked as a potential, but not a definite.
And Bill, they said, I think as I understood it, that the study goes well, everybody says great, the DOT says we're on the calendar, but it's still 3 years?
It probably is.
Yeah.
Maybe quicker. So that
Maybe
there's,
quicker,
well,
2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years actually. And so kind of the key is just granting us the city this property ahead of time. If we get into a point where we have to go seek right of way, that incurs another phase. It incurs a concept phase, a preliminary phase, because we have to follow what's called the Uniform Act for acquisition of property. And we would much rather get the property donated, and it'd save at least a year on the project. That's right. Thanks, Ann.
So the property that Publix would have to make their road, do they pay for that, or do we pay for that?
That's to me, and I'm sure to me that is their property. It makes their flow much better if they can align all of their businesses in there and back that up. But I think there's still question on how much, because typically when we do a project, I gotta quit saying that. Typically when GDOT does a project, they're limited to what's within the right of way. They can do some easements to do some work, driveways, that type of thing. There's a caveat in there though. There are some parking spaces that would have to be configured in that thing. But I think that's part of working things out with the owner of the property.
And then across the street, if Mr. Patel turned over that private driveway to the city, is that on us to fund that?
It could be, depending on if it was in the right of way, because that would be part of construction phase, which GDOT prefers to pay for construction. We pay for principal engineering. The Publix was talked about where the Publix could use the same contractor if they wished to do those upgrades, but that would be certainly on the Publix dime. We could not use SPLOST funds for a private, but if it becomes, our goal is to get the right of way in that road prior to this, because if we have to acquire right of way, then it's going to add another year. But we gotta see what y'all think first before we start talking about Mr. Patel pretty seriously.
So Bill, are you looking for a motion for Thursday to pay the $32,000 and move forward on this thing?
So sure, the Transportation Committee, Public Utilities Committee unanimously voted this to go forward. And yes, we're looking for consent of the council.
Okay.
We have to vote on it then?
Thursday we will, right?
So yes.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions?
Any questions?
All right. Anything else?
And no, sir.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, Public Works, Linda Dodd, anything, Danny? Okay. Human Resources Chairman Danny Ford, any information on Danny?
No, he was prior
Brandon Function. Okay. City Manager's Report, Danny Roberts.
Two quick items, so they go hand in hand. This is for our fireworks celebration. We need to get approval to sign an IGA to use West Walton Park. We do this every year, and also an IGA from the city of Snellville to use their stage for the band. So I'd ask for y'all to put that on consent once Robin approves the contract or an IGA.
All right, consent for the stage and the land. All right, consent.
There is a cost for the stage, but it's in the package. It's $300, I believe. I believe.
Yeah, that's good.
Just to pay for the staff to set it up. That's all I have.
All right. Coming down to City Attorney Robin Webb.
Bill took my only item, so I have no actionable items this month. Thank you, Bill.
All right, before I adjourn, you want to come, I say this every Monday, but you definitely want to come this coming Thursday. You really want to come, and I encourage everybody to come. Not only are we going to have the issues at hand, we're going to honor so many people, a lot of people, and I'm going to start with Mayor for a Day. We got two little girls that tour our city hall today, and we're going to honor them. We also going to honor the ladies basketball team at Loganville High School for winning. There's the basketball right here, and we're signing it. We're gonna honor them because of Memorial Day. We're gonna honor the veterans. We're gonna have a World War II veteran here. All right, very seldom do we have that, and we're gonna have a Korean veteran here. We're gonna honor them too. We got a Gold Star mom and a Gold Star wife. We're gonna honor. We're also gonna honor. We're gonna do a proclamation for Foster Care Month. And we're going to honor the late Chief Elliott, which passed away a couple weeks ago, husband of Tricia Elliott. There were residents here. He's also the chief of Stone Mountain. So you want to be here for that. I highly recommend it. Please tell people to come to our council meeting and acknowledge these great Americans that we're going to honor. Other than that, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn. Second. We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Meeting's been adjourned. Have a good night.